Hey, today's video is about my own process in getting ready to start taking an aromatase inhibitor, which is the type of endocrine therapy that is approved for folks who are past menopause, women who are past menopause. And it's also commonly referred to as the common drug name letrozole, anastrozole, or exemestane. All three of these drugs are considered the type of endocrine therapy that works on your stored fat and the estrogen in your stored fat, and they are called aromatase inhibitors. Those of you who know me from my former videos might have seen the video in which I said I was not taking tamoxifen, and I entered the breast cancer community at a time in my life where I was just about to go through menopause naturally, and I decided not to take the endocrine therapy of choice for those in premenopausal state, tamoxifen, both because it's not an ideal treatment for the type of breast cancer that I have, lobular, or that I had, and also because I'm just about in the transition, or I was just about in the transition to menopause. Now I'm in the middle of transitioning to menopause. Hopefully I just have a few months left, and I'm hoping to be able to start taking an aromatase inhibitor such as letrozole or anastrozole or exemestane soon. Unlike most women who are rushed into this process and start taking these drugs right away, I had a very, very small amount of invasive cancer, and I can have the luxury of taking my time. I'm the type of person that likes to take my time before committing to any drug anyway and do my homework on it. And I'm also a nutritionist, so I have been helping women with hormone problems or imbalances for years anyway, so I know a lot about the different supplements and dietary and lifestyle changes that help with estrogen loss just from the work that I do in my daily life. So I feel really well prepared for this, and I wanted to share some of the things that I'm doing to get ready for this transition in advance, because it's a really stressful transition. It's a stressful thing to take aromatase inhibitors. Close to 1/3 of women who take them are not able to stand the side effects, and it is believed to be, and somewhat scientifically proven, that it is mostly women who have had chemo who also have really, really bad side effects. So it may be an interaction between what your body is dealing with after chemo and what your body is given to deal with without the estrogen once you're taking the endocrine therapy or aromatase inhibitor. So we don't fully understand these things yet. Just like most things in science and in medical treatment, we're still learning and exploring and testing. But what is known is that a lot of women stop taking this and either don't tell their doctors or fall out of touch with their doctors because they're just not willing to withstand the side effects, which usually are the most impressive side effects are pain in the joints and pain in the bones and muscle pain and sleeplessness, sometimes anxiety, all the same kinds of major side effects that happen when you're not dealing well with menopause with the lack of estrogen in your body. I am preparing for giving my life this major shift and this major pain in the butt by kind of revving up the same systems that would be made strong if I was starting to take aromatase inhibitors today and I started to take those supplements and lifestyle and alternative integrative medicine practices like acupuncture. Like most women, I think we hit the ground running and don't have all these things lined up, but both because I'm entering menopause naturally and I'm already dealing with a depletion in estrogen, and these kinds of things help with that anyway, but also because I'm anticipating taking the aromatase inhibitor. I'm just really getting my ducks lined up and ready to go in case I do experience side effects and I need help. So what am I doing? I have been in touch with a local acupuncture specialist who specializes in women's hormones. I think that it's really important to go to an acupuncturist, not only that works for you, so it takes a little while to find out if they work for you, personality-wise, just body-wise, whether you're sold on them as a practitioner, and also that they're a specialist in women's hormones and maybe the absence of women's hormones in my case. So I have a couple of expert acupuncturists lined up. Neither one of them is super close to my house because I live way out in the country, but I'm willing to travel and I'm familiar with them now, and I have them ready to go if I should need them for this. Another thing that I've been working on ever since I got breast cancer really was replacing and keeping my vitamin D levels replete. So vitamin D, we've learned recently that there is kind of a reservoir kind of system in our body that keeps a level of vitamin D when we're doing well that is higher, and then when we get cancer it can be depleted by the immune system as it's needed. And so my vitamin D levels were quite low actually, even though I was supplementing with vitamin D at the time when I got cancer. When I discovered my cancer, my vitamin D levels were pretty low. So I've been really vigilant about keeping my daily dosing of vitamin D up, and I also continue to dose with not just D3 but K2, which is something that boosts the D3 and really kind of makes it stronger in the body. So it kind of complements it. It's also really important to take these things with a fatty food or a fatty supplement for better absorption. So I take it with my fish oil every day. The vitamin D that I like is Dr. Amen's vitamin D. It's got K2 and zinc in it. It also has some bioflavonoids mixed in. So this is definitely my favorite. It's pretty affordable, and I'll leave a link below to this and other things that I'm going to be showing you today. The fish oil that I'm taking right now, I kind of cycle in and out of different ones, but right now I'm taking Super DHA by Carlson, and that's what that looks like. That's usually pretty easy to find at a health food store or co-op. But again, I'll leave a little link to it. So those are probably two of my most important daily supplements. I do take a few other things. I would say the other things are maybe less important, at least until I'm in the middle of those lack of estrogen side effects that come either with menopause or with the use of aromatase inhibitors. Being physically active is another thing that I've been working on, and I am not someone who is traditionally physically active, especially not aerobically active. So this has been something I've been working on for a couple of years now, since I first was diagnosed with precancer. I've always known as a nutritionist, having followed the studies, that there is way more data in favor of physical activity, regular physical activity, for lowering your risk of breast cancer than there is for any kind of nutritional approach. All of the nutritional approaches make arguments that their approach is the best way, and some of them are very contradictory to each other. So nutrition is a really confusing field for cancer management or risk avoidance, but physical activity is not confusing at all. It's just really important that you get daily, regular physical exercise, whether it's aerobic activity or strength bearing or weight bearing. Those are both really important. So I have committed to going to 2 dance classes a week for my aerobic activity. Dance is something I enjoy a lot more than traditional exercise or sports activities. So I've learned that when there's a social element involved, then I have a lot more accountability to show up. And I'm also doing more weight-bearing activity and exercises here at home that I do in a pretty brief workout routine in the morning when I wake up. I don't currently go to yoga every week, but if I do start taking an aromatase inhibitor, I will start yoga once a week. And I do have a class at my gym that's available, and the time works for me. So I will add that in at the time that I need it, and I expect that I will need it when I start taking an aromatase inhibitor. Yoga, even when it's a more relaxing yoga, like a more mindfulness practice yoga, is really good for stress reduction. And so it's not so much for the physical activity or the calisthenic aspect of the yoga that I will be pursuing that for. It's more for the stress management and rest and just the lack of anxiety that yoga brings into your life. And I think that's really important. There have been clinical studies that have shown that yoga helps with any kind of endocrine therapy, whether it's tamoxifen or an aromatase inhibitor. Similarly, I have a physical therapist that I work with. I've worked with her for just keeping my scars nice and loose and having my cording. When I first had my first mastectomy, I had cording. So she helped me manage cording, and she helped me get back to full range of motion and do all the exercises that are necessary to get your range of motion back after having lymph node removed. So I have an amazing amount of trust with her. I just adore her as a person, and I will go back to her for kinesiology help if I am on an aromatase inhibitor and if I experience joint pain. I expect that I will have joint pain in my neck and in my hip because I've already experienced joint pain in those two areas and muscle pain in my neck as well, just as a result of my injuries and daily life and struggles with going into menopause. I have a lot of hip joint pain just naturally going into menopause without the estrogen to help with that in my body. So I imagine I may need some kinesiology tape, and that really helps, I think, clinically proven to help with the kinds of joint pain and muscle pain that you get as a result of some of those side effects with aromatase inhibitors. So I have the physical therapist all set up, ready to go. I don't see her regularly now, but I do have a relationship with her, and I've established care with her, so I can go to see her as soon as I need to, when I need to. So some of the other supplements that I recommend and that I plan to take myself, and some of them I'm already taking myself, are tart cherry juice. So when I do have hot flashes, when I am in a wave of low estrogen, currently I am taking tart cherry juice already to help with hot flashes and some of those side effects of low estrogen. So tart cherry juice, again, has been clinically proven to help with all of the side effects of both low estrogen, natural menopause, and aromatase inhibitors, or induced menopause or enhanced menopause with even lower estrogen. So just 2 tablespoons a day. I have started to put this in my sparkling water. We have an Arkle machine which creates fizzy water, and I just put 2 tablespoons in with my nightly fizzy water that I'm drinking in the evening before bed. And it also helps with relaxation and sleep, as well as with night sweats and hot flashes. Tart cherry juice is really good for you anyway. It's affordable. It's easy to build into your routine. It makes my little beverage more colorful. So it's a pretty easy thing to add in. I like it better than adding in another supplement because I don't like being on any kind of pills round the clock full time every day of the week. So some supplements that I take in pill form that, again, I am already taking now, mostly because of my joint pain and low estrogen symptoms that come with the transition to menopause, are CoQ10, which is really good for mental agility, clearer cognition, something that we call brain fog. This is the brand that I really like for CoQ10, and it's 100 milligram per capsule. It's a small capsule, easy to swallow, and I take that in the morning with my smoothie. And glucosamine. This is glucosamine sulfate. This one does not have chondroitin added in. A lot of doctors will argue that chondroitin is also necessary when you're taking glucosamine. So check with your doctor, of course, whenever you're taking any supplement. But I really like this one by Da Vinci Labs. And again, I will leave a link below for this, both of these. The melatonin that I take is a 10 milligram capsule of melatonin at night. It helps not only with sleep, but also mental cognition. Melatonin is being discovered to be an amazing cancer drug. So if you have active cancer, metastatic cancer, it's really good for you to take melatonin for many reasons that I won't go into here, but you can ask your oncologist about that as well if you're curious. The other thing that I take periodically to keep my anxiety under control is GABA. So you can take a chewable GABA like GABA Calm. I will link to this also. GABA Calm is my favorite brand, or it's the most absorbable form that I've found. And this is just episodic, so I don't take it every day, every morning, or every night. I just take it as I'm feeling anxiety. And it really helps with stress reduction, which again can really help with these symptoms as well. The other supplement that I take that is not necessarily for any kind of low estrogen, aromatase inhibitor, or endocrine therapy, but just for breast cancer reduction, risk reduction, is again a kind of clinically proven new therapy on the scene, which is turkey tail mushroom. And this is the brand that I like. Most brands are not very pure, not very clean, not very absorbable. This one is called Real Mushrooms. It's the only brand that I recommend for all of my clients. It's both organic and it is water extracted for better bioavailability, which is really important. Also, it is all mushroom. A lot of mushroom extracts or mushroom products will have the fiber or the material that they grow the mushrooms on in the capsules, and they're selling just that fiber or that material that's kind of mixed in, chopped up with the mushrooms, so it is very, very watered down. This brand is excellent for quality, and they're third-party tested, so I trust that I'm getting what I'm paying for because this is not inexpensive. So again, this is not necessarily for the symptoms of menopause or endocrine therapy, but just for breast cancer risk reduction. These are the supplements that I take every day, and so I brought that in and just to show you, just because that's what I'm taking right now. I also take things like a form of vitamin E and sulforaphane, and I've talked about that in some of my videos on my nutrition channel, so I'll point you to that here and down below if you're curious about a wider range of things that I cycle in and out, along with probiotics and things like that on a not a daily basis, but more like a seasonal basis for breast cancer risk reduction. The other thing that I'm doing to prepare myself for taking something like letrozole or anastrozole or exemestane is just allowing space in my life for discomfort. I am already going through the menopause transition, so there's already a little bit of brain fog. There's already a little bit of joint pain, like I said, and hot flashes. So just giving myself room to be more comfortable and space to be maybe less with strangers and people that I need to impress, and more with friends and comfortable situations that are low stress, low performance. This is a year to take it easy. Your first year on any kind of endocrine therapy would be a year to go easy on yourself if you can. And I'm definitely doing that. I'm not planning out big retreats with groups of women that I've never met, for example, like I would if I wasn't in this stage of life. I'm putting that off for another year, and I'll start that up again when I'm feeling a little bit more myself and when I've eased into the endocrine therapy if I choose to stay on it. Of course, I am giving myself that out and that option to go off of it. My goal would be to stay on it for 3 years, and if I can stay on it for 3 years and it's giving me pain, then I'll probably go off of it at that point. The reason that I'm even open to taking anastrozole or letrozole or exemestane, an aromatase inhibitor, is that I read this book by Azra Raza, and she's an amazing scientist, she's an amazing philosopher, and she really argues against waiting for the last cancer cell and trying to kill that really robust, strong last cancer cell in the battle against your cancer, but instead meeting cancer at the beginning of your journey and meeting it with a really, really strong attack and trying to get kind of the upper hand right away instead of hoping that it doesn't get strong on its own and coming back and fighting it with things like chemotherapy, which can really break up and kill a lot of cancer cells, but usually leaves some of the stronger ones even more resilient. So a lot of really good arguments in this book. It is pretty science heavy, but it has a lot of case studies and a lot of personal stories as well. So I think it's really good for anyone to read if you're struggling with whether or not to take cancer therapies. This is a book about cancer, not about breast cancer. So it's not specifically for breast cancer patients, but it really she really won me over to the idea that I need to not take this lightly in the beginning of my journey, because once you get to the end, it sometimes can be too late, and sometimes cancer just gets the upper hand if you haven't met it robustly in the beginning. So I think that was the turning point for me. I was told by my various oncologists, and I'm still seeking more and more second opinions, but the ones I've seen so far have said that I don't need to take any endocrine therapy. It's okay if I don't. But I know from talking to patients, talking to doctors, hearing case studies, being in the breast cancer world of science and the culture, I know how likely it is that we get recurrence in our lifetime, especially if cancer hits us young. It has a long time to catch up with us after going dormant. And so I want to make sure that the cells that are dormant are weaker cells in the beginning. There's no guarantee that we can wipe all of them out, but I want to make sure that there aren't any that have gained a foothold or gained kind of the stronger upper hand from the beginning, which is what Dr. Raza kind of argues for in her book. And I just so appreciate the time that she took to write this book, because you really do need that kind of philosophical approach for some of us that are tough to sell on this kind of therapy that is so painful to take, and it has so many side effects. So she doesn't take that lightly, but she also just makes a really good argument for meeting the cancer in the beginning of your journey rather than waiting until the end. So she kind of, at this point in time at least, has really sold me. And even though my invasive cancer was really tiny, and I really do have the option not to go down this road of taking these painful therapies, I think that I will at this point. So we'll see when I get to that juncture and that T in the road and I have to choose right or left. We'll see what I do when I'm finally at the end of my menopause transition. But that's my guess at this point, and this is how I'm preparing my life and my perspective in preparation for that. Be sure to ask questions below if it is of a personal nature. If you have a clinical question, I'm always going to direct you to your doctor, because I'm not a doctor. I'm only a nutritionist, and I'm not even taking the role of nutritionist when I'm sitting in this seat. I'm just telling my story as a patient. And having learned from other practitioners in the integrative cancer world, I feel just as strong about all of these therapies and approaches as I ever have. And I continue to take more and more classes and look at more and more studies. So I will update you if any of these recommendations change in the notes down below this video. So that's all I have for today, and I will be back in about a week with another video for you. And take care in the meantime. Bye-bye.